Dubro Suspicion Files.
Okay, so picture this. It's May 1986. A famous model and actress, she just vanishes from her high-security apartment in Seoul, of all places. What starts out looking like a classic locked room mystery, it just spirals into this dark, tangled story of spies, state power, and the really chilling reality of what South Korea was like under a military dictatorship. And the whole thing, the entire case, it all boils down to one simple but totally impossible question. Yeah, that's the real puzzle here, isn't it? It's not just, hey, where did Yoon Sil go? The real question is, how? How could someone just, poof, disappear so completely without a sound from a place that was supposed to be totally secure? All the easy answers just went right out the window the second her sister walked into that apartment. Everything was exactly where it should be. Her passport, her clothes, her money, all of it just sitting there. No sign of a struggle. So, okay, it's not a robbery. And look, even if she had decided to run away or something darker, why on earth would she leave her passport behind? It makes no sense. None of it adds up. And we really need to get a picture of who Yoon Sil was. This wasn't just some random person. She was a star, a big deal. At 174 centimeters, that's about 5'8.5". She was incredibly tall for a Korean woman back then. You couldn't miss her. So for someone this famous, this recognizable, to just waltz out of a packed apartment building in Gangnam without a single person seeing anything, it's pretty much impossible. So there you have it. That's our setup. A perfect, completely impossible vanishing act. But okay, to even begin to understand how something like this could happen, we have to pull the camera back, way back. We have to zoom out from that one apartment and look at the whole country. Because you see, in 1986, South Korea was basically a nation living a double life. So, on one hand, you had the face the government wanted everyone to see. They were showing off, big time. The 1986 Asian Games were basically a warm-up for the '88 Seoul Olympics. It was all about projecting this image of a modern, successful country. But then there was the hidden reality, the face they tried to hide. And that was the brutal military dictatorship of Chun Doo-hwan. We're talking a regime that censored everything, ran actual concentration camps like the horrifying Brothers' Home, and, had the power and the process to just make people vanish. And one of the main ways they controlled the narrative was with this thing called the Bodo Jichim. It basically means reporting guidelines. But these weren't suggestions. They were direct orders sent to every newsroom. If the government said, you don't report on this, then poof, the story never happened. So the fact that a top model disappears and there's just radio silence, that wasn't an accident. That was the policy. Okay, so with all that as a backdrop, you can see how different theories started to pop up to explain what happened. Let's break down the 4 big ones. Now, before we get into the theories themselves, there are 2 key events that you absolutely have to know about. First, the personal one. Yoon had just been through this awful romance scam by a guy known as Billy, and it completely devastated her. This, of course, is what the police latched onto for their official theory, suicide. But then there's the second event, and this one is way more explosive. Just 2 months earlier, her sister's famous ex, a film director, had escaped from North Korea after being held there for 8 years. Suddenly, the entire family was under a massive microscope, being watched by spies from both the North and the South. All right, so let's weigh these theories. How do they actually stack up? Well, the idea she just took off voluntarily, that feels like a non-starter. Who runs away and leaves their passport? So let's just toss that one out. A North Korean abduction? Okay, that's interesting, especially with the timing. But think about it. It's been 40 years. She's never been seen. North Korea always uses high-profile abductees for propaganda. And with her, nothing. So that seems pretty unlikely, too. Then there's suicide. Yeah, there's a motive, the Billy scam, but there was never a body, ever. Which leaves us with the last theory, a state cover-up. And this is where things get really chilling, because the evidence starts to get alarmingly strong. So let's drill down on that last theory, because it's the actions of the South Korean government itself that give us the most disturbing clues in this entire case. And here's the one question that just shatters all the other theories. If this was just a suicide or even a North Korean kidnapping, why in the world did South Korea's own spy agency get involved? We're talking about the ANSP, basically their CIA. They don't investigate missing persons cases, so what were they doing here?
Just look at this timeline. It's so tight. In March, you have the huge international incident, the director escaping from North Korea. 2 months later, in May, Yoon disappears. And then, in July, the ANSP, the spy agency, makes its move. And what they did next? Well, it's pretty much the smoking gun for state involvement.
They grabbed Yoon's brother-in-law, a photographer named Kim Jung-man. They didn't arrest him with a warrant. They didn't charge him with a crime. They didn't even officially question him. They just took him to the airport, shoved him on a plane, and exiled him, kicked him out of his own country. Why would they do that? Well, the reason seems terrifyingly clear. It completely shattered the family. It silenced the one person who could have really pushed for a real investigation, leaving Yoon's sister totally alone and powerless. And that action, the deportation, it poured fuel on a rumor that's never gone away, that Yoon was secretly involved with a very powerful man in the dictator's regime, and she had become a problem, a liability. In that version of the story, her disappearance had nothing to do with North Korea. It was a domestic cleanup job. You know, people have even compared it to the conspiracy theories around Marilyn Monroe's death. The state wasn't investigating a crime here, it was covering one up. So when you put all the pieces together, you start to see that this wasn't just a disappearance. That word is too small. This was a systematic, calculated erasure of a person. And the human cost of that erasure was just devastating. Yoon's sister, Oh Sumi, she had already been through so much, and this just broke her. Her partner exiled, her sister just gone. She eventually left the country, but died in a tragic car accident in 1992. She never found out what happened to her sister. The state's mission to silence the family, it worked perfectly. And in all the years since, you want to know how many people have been held accountable for any of this? The number is 0. Not a single person. The statute of limitations ran out a long time ago, so any kind of legal justice, it's just not possible anymore. So here's the takeaway, the most crucial point of all. Yoon Young-sil didn't just slip through the cracks. She was pushed. Her case is this absolutely terrifying example of what happens when a state has total, unchecked control over the media, over the police, over its own borders. It gains the power not just to silence people, but to literally delete them from existence. And that leaves us with one last really chilling thought. The locked room mystery here, it wasn't just her apartment. The real locked room was the entire country of South Korea in 1986. It was a sealed box where the truth could be contained, controlled, and in the end, just completely snuffed out by the people in charge. All that's left is silence and a ghost.